Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
First at 4, reaction is coming in to the landmark verdict against the mother of the Oxford High School shooter. Jennifer Crumbley and the entire country heard these words a short time ago.
On count 1 of involuntary manslaughter as to Madison Baldwin, we find the defendant guilty of involuntary manslaughter.
And the verdicts are the same for the other victims, Tate Meir, Hannah St. Juliana, and Justin Schilling. Crumbley found guilty on all 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Kimberly Gill. First at 4, Jennifer Crumbley is now the first parent in the country held criminally responsible for her child's shooting spree. Her attorneys argued she couldn't have foreseen the devastation at Oxford High School. A short time ago, the jury foreperson gave a brief comment on how jurors reached those guilty verdicts.
The thing that really hammered it home is that she was the last adult with the gun. And that's where I'll end my comment. Thank you.
Now, that jury person did not share her name and also says reaching a verdict was a very difficult decision and that they took it very seriously. Sean Lay was in the courtroom for the verdicts and joins us live. Sean, what was it like inside as those verdicts were read?
Kimberly, really emotional, very tense. I sat right behind Jennifer Crumbley, about 6 feet away. I felt like she was rather surprised, did not see this verdict coming her way in particular. She was brought into the courtroom after the court was told we have a verdict, and Shannon Smith, her attorney, grabbed her by the arm. I could hear her clearly say, tell Jennifer Crumbley, whatever happens, stay calm. Crumbley nodded her head. First verdict was read about the death of Madison Baldwin, Crumbley being held responsible for the involuntary manslaughter of Madison Baldwin. And Crumbley seemed to kind of collapse in her chair a little bit, lean over, her head dipped a little bit, and she gently shook her head no. That was the only reaction we saw. I also saw her being led out of the courtroom again with very little reaction. I turned right around. Right behind me was the father of Madison Baldwin, staring straight ahead, being extremely composed, his wife kind of holding his hand, holding his back as he was sitting there. Justin Schilling's father was right next to him. He was waiting for his son's name to be called, and Jennifer Crumbley linked and convicted of his involuntary manslaughter as well. You'll remember Justin Schilling's father had a fiery victim impact statement at the sentencing of the shooter, and he just looked like he had steely determination to see this through no matter how difficult for his son. One more thing, Kimberly, the prosecutor here in Oakland County, risking this, taking this to a trial, and she came around right away and gave a hug to Madison Baldwin's father. We'll show you this at 5 o'clock. He just said very quietly, thank you. She's not able to speak with us, the news media. There's still a gag order on this because sentencing is coming up in April.
Yeah, that's right. And there's still another trial to come too, Sean. So what's the status of the case against the shooter's father, James Crumbley?
The identical 4 involuntary manslaughter charges that his wife just faced. Remember, these two have not spoken to each other in 2 years. When they were arrested on December 4th, 2021, they're right over here to my left at the Oakland County Jail in different cells. And they have not seen each other except for some early court hearings. Then they split their cases. But he's facing the same exact charges. We may see possibly the same exact trial put on by Oakland County prosecutors. Remember, the jury foreperson said the one thing that stuck out for them, that had them have this unanimous guilty plea, was Jennifer Crumbley was the last person to be in possession of the 9mm handgun. That will be followed up at trial, Kimberly, with video of James Crumbley buying that handgun with his son right next to him.
Yeah, and we know James Crumbley, his trial will start on March 5th. Sean, we appreciate it so much. We'll talk to you a little bit later.
Okay.
Rod Maloney was also at the courthouse talking to some of the families of the shooting victims, and he joins us live with more. Rod?
Yeah, Kimberly, it was a very devastating situation, certainly for Oxford, and many of the parents have been in and out, but we're not here today. The only parent that we were able to talk to that was interested in talking at all was Greg Schilling, Justin Schilling's father. He had a lot to say, and one of the things that he really stressed in all of his comments was that he understood the ramifications of this verdict, that this resonates coast to coast because, he says, there has not been enough to bring accountability to these mass shootings, particularly mass school shootings. So let's hear what he had to say.
The cries have been heard, and I feel that this verdict is going to echo throughout every household in the country, and I feel it's necessary and I'm happy with the verdict, even though it's still a sad situation to be in. It's got to stop. Everything that's going on, we have to address everything.
And so he addressed that more at length, and also his thoughts on Jennifer Crumbley herself and her performance in her cross-examination. So we'll be bringing that to you coming up on Local 4 News at 5 and again at 6. Reporting live from Pontiac, Rod Malone, Local 4.
We will see you soon, Rod. We appreciate it, and our coverage will continue. As Rod said, at 5 and 6, we'll be getting more reaction and talking with an expert on what this verdict could mean for the case against James Crumbley. These cases are making history, so stay with us as our coverage continues.